Hello. I think I'm alone, but I'm going to start streaming and anyone wants to watch. Alrighty. Tonight we are going to take our spaceship we built in the past and try to make it have lasers that can shoot other spaceships. And in order to do that, we're going to go through a bunch of steps. And this is, those you haven't seen before, this is Core. This is a brand new game engine and game building tool that you can use to make all sorts of games, video games of shooters, platformers, just whatever you want to make, basically anything. You can make art, you can make maps, you can make logic, and I generally focus on the logic side. I'm an engineer who works at Manticore on this product. If you want to get it, go to coregames.com. It's free. It's free to use, free to get. All right, here we are. As a rocket ship I built before, where it's kind of a deep dive into complex things, but that's what I want to do. Right out of the box with Core, you hit play, you get your character. This character I've set up myself. Let me make sure I see. Okay. And if I get into my rocket ship, I can get rocket kind of controls. I can look up and down. I can go upside down. It's a rocket, right? You don't have forward and backwards like some other things would. You press 2 to turn on the thrusters. Not a great control scheme, but I didn't decide that. And then 1 to turn off the thrusters. And the spaceship tends to go forward. It's not a very realistic spaceship, doesn't follow physics, it just sends you forward. But that might be fun for games. I'm working with a coworker who's trying to build something. He thinks this is what would make it kind of fun. All right, let's add a bunch of things to this. First of all, let's get our ground. The grounds, I've had some problems testing. It just occurred to me, like every time I test, it's hard to keep this in view, and it's kind of a pain. Especially when it goes forward, you can't spin around and watch. Like you can only see when you're looking at it. So I'm going to delete the floor entirely and add some terrain. Use the terrain generator. Let's just get some rolling hills. All right, now we've got a bunch of hills. How far does this go out? We'll get a material. Everyone's favorite grass cliffs. Not a lot of cliffs. Maybe we'll go for a desert. Yeah, rock ship in the desert. Great. Take your spaceship, move it up a little bit. Find my spawn point. That one's okay. It's this guy here. I should make the spawn point and rotate it. So I'm looking at the spaceship. Okay. So now if I hit play, sweet. I have things to look at while I'm flying around. I can hold right click to roll the view. That's a funny texture line. You know what? That's all right. I have revealed a shortcoming of our system. That is okay. We will not worry about that. The train's gonna look a little funny. Oh, I'm still in preview mode. Whoops. If I actually stop, then the train changes. Okay. The train is always forced to the highest quality when you're creating things so that you can see all the details and create them, but in the game itself, it dynamically changes. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is look at how this guy works. It has a lot of detail. It's got a server representation, a client representation. It's got a bunch of pieces, like visuals. It's got a script on the client, script on the server. And the way this works is that the person who's flying it has authority, basically. The client, this isn't the best way to always build game logic, it's the way that this works pretty well. So the person who's flying it gets authority, and it goes exactly where they tell it to. You move your controls around, it controls your client-side view. It then sends updates to the server that says, hey, here's where I am. Here's where I am, here's where I am. It keeps sending updates, it sends you the speed, the position, and the rotation, I believe. We can look at the script to verify that. It sends a ship update event. Current position, current speed, current rotation. New rotation. I think it would send current rotation, but I don't think I have one of those. Yep, alright. And the server takes that and reconstructs where the ship should actually be for everyone else, and uses that to control the server representation. So that would be used for things like collision with projectiles or something like that. And then it sends this data back to the clients by having networked properties, and then the other clients who are not in the ship use that to reconstruct where things should be. This kind of works. The one problem that was run into with this is that you can't collide with the the server context stuff is only on the server, and collisions might not work with that. We're trying to, basically the behavior I'm trying to get, let me show you one shortcut of the system. So the wireframe box, this is the server representation of the ship, and you can see where I am because of the camera. The person who's in the ship can't see the ship because otherwise you'd be all in the way. In actual multiplayer, you wouldn't be able to see the server representation, but if I fly off and then take a hard turn and pause, you'll see that the camera is not actually inside the server representation. The server lags behind. It does that because not only is it sending data back and forth, but it has to kind of interpolate it to be smooth. If I just whenever a client update came in, it just set it immediately to that position, it would snap positions and it would look very jarring. But it can be pretty far outside of the spaceship. So if I'm getting shot at, the other player is going to be shooting at this, and I think I'm over here. It's going to feel kind of bad if I see a laser fly by me and then I take damage. It's the same feeling you get in a shooter when you run around a corner and then you get shot by someone because they saw you further back than you saw yourself. Only it's a lot worse because of the way this is set up. That's right. I expect when you're in first person, you won't see the lasers behind you because you're looking forward. And ideally, the thing that really matters is if I shoot someone else and my laser looks like it's hitting them, it needs to actually hit them. All right. So we're going to do some serious scripting to this guy. Let's look at the client script. This was from a thing yesterday. Don't need that. Client script. All right. So what do we set the parent on? The camera, the geo. I think there was a third one. Server rotation. Okay. I think the way I want to do this is get rid of the server representation entirely. Just get this entire group right out of here. And have the server just move the whole thing as itself. The kicker here is that this is an equipment. It doesn't have to be. It is currently. I'm thinking I might change that because the reason I detach these things in the first place is that an equipment is attached to the player in a socket, and when it's attached to the player in a socket, when the player moves, it moves along the same way. And meanwhile, we're sitting here with the script setting the position over and over and over again, but it's still, when you move your camera or whatever, it's very jarring. Your player actually does stuff. In a case of a game like this, let me write these down. Spaceship. Switch away from equipment. Change server script to move entire template. Only detach camera on client. Then we're going to implement lasers and ground collision. I guess those are two different things. Weapons. Implement ground collision. All right. That way, ground collision is just kind of a cool thing to have. Smash into the ground, your ship should explode, not fly through the ground. We're going to switch away from equipment. We're going to change this to work in a different way. I think this will be easier to work with. I think it'll make the pattern a lot better. And if we get the weapons working, that'll be great. All right. The other thing we're going to do before we even do any of that is take the small point and move it down. No. We're gonna make another script just to show how this would kind of work. No, I want a plane. we're basically making a box underground that you get teleported to when you're in the ship. That way, your body, you're not just standing on the surface because the ship doesn't do anything to stop you from it doesn't actually put you in the ship. I tried to do that. It had some limitations. We're kind of reproducing movement ourselves. That's okay. So we get a box that you get to sit in. I accidentally didn't clone that one. Okay. Wait, no, I should be in the other corner here. Editor. Oh, I named these backwards. That's what happened. Oh, I'm on the other side. Okay. That way you can actually see what I'm doing with the stuff in the corner. Let me rename that before I forget forever. All right. Okay. So we need the top door box. Planes are one-sided. All right. We have a dark box down here. So it is 3,000 z coordinate at the top, 5,000 at the bottom. So we're going to teleport you right in the middle. And how would I do this? I'll make a script that's outside of it. Ship teleporter server. It's actually a little bit harder than I was underground box that I was hoping. Right. So the reason I took everything out of this box, I'm putting the center, the suction sort of looking for pivot dead centers. I'm gonna use that as a spot to teleport to, rather than saving some magic number. All right, there's where you teleport to, and the ship is here. It's an equipment right now. It's about to not be an equipment. Another way I could do this is have it when you get out of it, it could. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze or cough. When you get it in, I could actually unattach it from the player. I don't know if that works. Equipment automatically attach, and you can detach and attach things independently of that. It might unequip when I do that, which would be bad. Instead, we're just going to depend on some events that we don't have yet. We'll in a minute. This is going to be really easy. On enter ship, I'm going to call it events enter and exit ship. Player, function on exit ship, player. And then, does the server script even know currently that people are in it? Let's find out. Unequipped and unequipped. Okay, so it'll need to know. It doesn't currently. Well, it uses the, it does know currently because it's an equipment. When I make it not an equipment, it will suddenly not know how that works. It'll need to know because it needs to make you invisible. If you set up a game where it didn't teleport you off somewhere, still want to be invisible either way. All right, so we're going to broadcast that to everyone, I guess. Enter ship and exit ship. Events.connect. Enter ship. Enter ship. Oops. Okay. Me. I'm alone here. All right. back to what I'm doing. All right, so we're just going to set you. Let's actually store where you were so when you get out. Well, it's like when you get out of the ship, you should be where the ship is, not. Maybe they should only do the first part. Or maybe that should be built-in behavior of the ship. Let's just do the first part. Players set world position. I didn't even get the custom property for this thing. Oop. Custom property. That should say underground. Unground? Who wrote this? Underground box. Okay. We just set you into the underground box. Easy. So now, doesn't like that at all. Underground box. Yep. That appeared to not have teleported me at all. That feels pretty straightforward. Actually, quite surprised it didn't work. Where is that position and why am I not at? Oh, haha. It does nothing. Of course it does nothing. It's because I haven't fired this event yet. Alright, we'll leave that for now. We'll test it in a minute. First thing to do. So I want to keep this template. If I just make a new group and move it into it, the group will not be part of the template. It's kind of hard to work with. So I take the group, put it into the template. I update the template. Now that's part of the template. Now I instance it. Take the name of this guy, give it to the group, move the group out of there, and move these guys into it. Alright. So now we're in all equipment. And we probably just lost some custom properties. What did I lose? Oh, lots of custom properties. I'm glad I did that. I noticed. There may be a way to copy these all over. There probably isn't. That's a bummer. But I really don't want to do any equipment. Alright, so we're going to do the old take a screenshot. Incidentally, I don't have Windows 10 on this computer, so I can't use their nice snippet tool. That's right, got a screenshot, and we're deleting it. Alright, you've got thrust low. This is the thrust value when you're on low thrusters. Float. Thrust high. Thrust by on high thrusters. Drag, how much drag force there is in space, don't ask me. Max rotation speed. Then a bunch of bindings. Thruster off. Binding, thruster low. Binding, thruster high. Binding, roll toggle. And the last guy is the update frequency. Alright. And they had values of 1600, 2500, 0.4, 135, 5, extra 1. This is the 1 key on the keyboard, 2 key on the keyboard, 3 key on the keyboard, and this was ability secondary, which is right click. Primary is obviously going to shoot lasers. What else would you do with the spaceship? Alright, and onward. So the thing we're doing here, people just joined, is we're changing around the spaceship some. We're going to change it so that the server representation of the spaceship is the entire template, not just the server representation folder. I believe this will do roughly the same thing. I'm not sure actually why I did it the other way. I think I overthought it. One of the problems I ran into originally was that as an equipment, it was attached to the player. When it was attached to the player, it took the player's transform, so as you jumped around, the ship jumped all over the place and looked horrible. I'm just switching it to not being equipment at all, which actually does lose a little bit. I meant to send events when you get in and out of it, but I think that'll be okay. And then um, the camera's going to be the only thing that's detached that the local player is doing something special with. And because of that, everyone else will see it in the same place. You can put triggers in it, cloud of lasers, and I'm going to try setting that whole thing up with weapons and everything. I made a little to-do list. Switch away from equipment. Well, we sort of did that. We have to fix the scripts. So update this. De-instantly probably have to change some. Yeah, things are missing. All right, spaceship is now this group. This representation isn't even a thing. It's just the spaceship. And I don't even need these replicated properties at all. Geo, camera, server script. Don't need the server script either. Wow, that is much simpler. This is where I get halfway through this and find out that there was a good reason to do that, and it's going to break horribly. All right. So let's meso client script first. So we have all the same custom properties. We just got rid of that guy. Local player. Time. Okay, so some of these things I'm not going to need at all. All this behavior where it's getting updates from the server is just out because the server's handling that entirely. So if you're not on the ship, we don't need to do anything. Whoops. So we don't need this value. Rotation gap factor. Network property change, don't need that. Ship current position. Also use it. Nope, that comment's no longer true. Roll toggle, thruster level, last sent update time, last position received time. I don't need these last two. Okay. Undestroyed. We have to destroy the camera. Nothing, the geo is no longer going to be disconnected. And where is this hooked up? Is it just at the bottom? We should give a check around this because if we don't do that, then if no one actually got in the ship when it's destroyed, the camera's not going to be detached. Oh, no, maybe it will. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. That's not true. As soon as the script runs, it's detached, and the script will run on everyone all the time. Great. All right. So equipped and unequipped, that is not how this works anymore. We need the trigger now, specifically in the script. That is a new property. Trigger. But I'm just going to rename the whole thing to trigger because you're not picking up the spaceship. You weren't picking up the spaceship in the first place. That's nonsense. All right, so we have the trigger. And where are we going to put this? Spaceship equipped, unequipped. So it's going to be finding pressed event is going to have us getting out. We already have that. So unequipped is right out. Destroy event we need. Network property change event we don't have anymore. So equipped event we have trigger dot interacted event. Interaction event? What is it called? Docs. The wrong browser. 1 minute. I'll drag this on screen. Trigger. Interacted event. Okay. Interacted event. Uninteracted. Okay, so unequipped is now uninteracted. It's going to take different arguments. Take a trigger player. There's local player. Use the camera, set rotation, position, quaternion, geo, visibility, turn off. That makes sense. Last sent update time. This is where we're setting the initial time. Then you're in ship. Okay, so that's all the same. Great. Unequipped is going to be down here instead. I'm just going to hook it up to F hard-coded because I guess previously you didn't have a way to get out of it. Maybe we'll worry about this later. We're going to call this function exit ship and not actually have a way to call it. or on, yeah, exit ship. All right. This is useful, presumably. We just don't have a way to do that. All right, not gonna worry about that. Undestroyed, we got that. Binding press, these things work. Binding released. Clamp rotation component, that works. Okay, so are we still sending updates the same way? That is the question. I think so. So we're getting the delta, we're doing the roll toggle, we're updating the quaternion, multiplying that in, handling acceleration, setting world position of the camera, and then broadcasting the server. Okay, so the only thing we need in the script now is we need a event broadcast in here. Events.broadcast to server. The two places we need this are the one that teleports you into the box that I just added, and the server script is going to need to know that you're in there so you can hide you. So it's got to be broadcast server, and I called that enter ship. Makes sense. Takes player, and that is it. That is a problem because it needs to know which ship it is if you have multiple ships. So we're going to give it two arguments, ship.id and player. Then this is a separate script that teleports you in a box. It doesn't care what ship you got into. If you get into any ship, you're getting sent. Great. Just need to know the arguments there. So now the server script. This is actually going to be easier, I think. So it works roughly the same way. So it's got some different, it's just got spaceship, no other custom properties at all. There's no server representation. Do I need update period? I do. Yeah, so this is actually handling all the movement, so it does need these things. On ship update, which gets called with this, we set the custom property, network properties, don't need this anymore at all. Offset position. And instead of setting server representations, we're just moving the whole ship. Okay. On destroyed, don't need that function anymore. Didn't detach anything. Equipped and unequipped. Again, I'm going to leave this function here on exit ship, but it's not being called at all. And unequipped is no longer unequipped. It's on enter ship. And we're only going to care about our own ship, because if you had a second ship that was similar but had some different behavior, whatever. Just want to make sure that it's our ship. All right. So when you enter the ship, you are no longer visible. Great, that's the thing we want. We need to actually connect that. Events.connect, enter ship, on enter ship. Nope. I'm gonna move this guy out of here. I'm just gonna delete it. Change my mind. On update ship, we move things. On tick, if we have an actual delta time, because apparently in published games or multiplayer preview, I think the first tick has no time, and I had to divide by 0 error here. Then we set the ship to the right position. That seems much simpler than what we had before. Russ is probably sitting here face palming at how much I put into here. Is everything used? Does appear to be. Alright. There's no way this will not work. Ground. Thrusters go. We seem to be flying around without errors. That's confusing. So 2 doesn't seem to be making me go, but 3 really makes me go. I might have typed in the wrong thing, or not updated one of the fields. We can just pause and see. That's confusing. Two does make me go. Ish. Does make me stop. This is with 2. I'll look at the script in a second. It's not erroring. 3 makes me go. If I take a hard turn and pause, we can't see the ship anymore. If I grab it, you can see where it is. That's pretty close. Is this box the trigger? It is the trigger. Okay, that's where the ship is. So I'm close. Let's turn this off. Yeah, this limited rotation speed's killing me. Alright, so that's about as far as I can get off. That's really bad, wow. Why am I behind it? Or am I not behind it? What if the camera is the wrong angle? Maybe when you pause it does something funny. I'd believe that. Maybe I'm actually flying this way. I am, right? Let's see. So I paused when I was looking. That one was correct. Yeah, this one's incorrect, right? I was supposed to be looking that way, I think. Maybe not. Okay, well, it's kind of nearish. Now we'll see how this actually feels when we try to get the lasers working. So we have the spaceship, it's not in equipment anymore. Ooh, my computer is chugging. Update the template. I'm surprised that didn't give me any errors, but I'll take it. What was on our to-do list? Switch away from equipment. Great. Move entire template. Only attach camera from client. Done. Implement weapons. Yeah. That's what we want. Well, laser cannons on this thing. So I'm going to literally make a weapon that has no reload or pickup trigger and put it right in the template. Laser cannons. I think I'm going to make one weapon that's both laser cannons. I think that'll be fine. Oh, I see what I did. My route's off. Okay. We will fix this. Where did my spaceship folder go? Down here. And now they're all out of order, but it's together. Alright. So the idea with laser cannons here is that they should be a projectile weapon and just use the built-in projectile system. This may not work, but if I can get this to work, like the goals are when I shoot a laser at someone else and it appears to hit them, it should actually hit them. And when I shoot a laser, it should appear to come out of my screen where I'm aiming. Like we're trying to make the best experience for the person shooting the weapon, not for the other side of this. Kind of masking off of the fact that when you're getting shot, the lasers will actually be behind you, but you can't tell because you're looking forward. Hopefully that won't be too bad. We'll find out. So the server script, let's see, this is going to be a projectile weapon. It's like a laser. Lasers are easy. First, you take a cylinder. There's a joke in here somewhere, which is or the rotation of a projectile. I think you actually want it sideways. So first you take a cylinder, you make it look like a laser, and then Jordan makes the glow 100 times what you had, so it is incredibly bright. I think I want to opaque emissive this guy, so it really glows. Can I give it an orange maybe, or yellow? I'm going to give it a value of 5. Well, that looks crappy, but whatever. Maybe we'll try this for now to see what it does. Laser projectile. Alright. So our laser cannon. Templates. Laser projectile. There we go. Uncheck that guy. No gravity. This is probably fast enough. I don't know. I'd make them much slower for the laser cannons in the hub world. Span 10. I wish that was always bigger. How long was that thing that I just made? Like way bigger than that, right? Scale of 10 meters. Yeah, okay. Radius of 0.3 meters. So that's 30. Drag, bounces, pierces. It's probably pierced, but that's alright. We'll worry about that later. And this thing has no ammo at all. Not finite ammo. It's gonna go pew 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 pew. Worry about sounds later. Weapon trajectory mode. Alright, so we want that's a good point. Putting the projectiles under client context might make sense just because visual geometry. It can be useful to mask any position offsets. I mean, you could intentionally offset them if you were having a problem with their always getting offset the other way. I'm hoping we can control this from script because I want them to like alternate left, right, and not have to. Well, we'll see if we can get this to work. Follow look vector kind of works. Maybe custom's what I want. What does custom do? Oh yeah, position rotation. So that's not gonna. We need the look vector. Damage. These don't have damage. We have to do that manually. We're gonna play around with this. I worry that this like you want it to follow your look vector, but I also think I also think it might care where the player themselves is and then act very strangely. With custom, it's going to go from the weapon itself, but that's going to mean like the client's weapon is not going to line up with your view, right? Because you're not actually setting the weapon at all, and you can't because the weapon's got to be networked. We're going to try this. We're going to see what it does. We can just set the ability's owner, maybe? I wonder if you can fire a weapon by giving the ability an owner. We're going to find out. So, in the server script, take reference to the attack ability and give it to the player. Nothing. I didn't figure out why 2 didn't work. Pew pew pew. I see nothing happening. Alright, so the other approach to this is... Is there an offset on this? Am I hitting the spaceship? Let's, I see there are a lot of... I want to catch this what I'm doing. We can activate the weapon, right? Isn't there like an activate function? Attack. Target. Interesting. That might be useful. Let us, instead of having this guy, let us try... we got a client script in on binding pressed. If you're in the ship, low thrust level 1. Did I set thrust low wrong? Thrust low, thrust high, thrust... That is confusing why that doesn't work. I'll figure that out in a minute. else if binding equals ability primary. Can't spell today. Then client script needs reference to laser cannons. I feel like this wasn't called attack yesterday or the day before, so I'm losing it a little bit. Maybe there's an ability function and a weapon function. Yeah, so attack should be client only, right? Or it should be callable on client. Like abilities can be activated by client, and it says no tags. I'm hoping. And I used this for the activates on an ability. Okay. I used this for the cannons in what do you call it? In the hub world. Although I also did something terrible and put them in a client context. Pew pew pew. Am I even getting an attack here? Don't know. So this isn't networked. Maybe that matters. Update. Ship's trying to fire the laser cannons. Let's try both ways. Don't remember what I did in the hub world, but it did work. Ability activate. There we go. Ability has no owner. Interesting. Probably getting into terrible territory here. Because I tried setting the owner of the ability and it didn't do anything. Definitely can't do that in the client. This should do something, surely. Let's figure out why my thruster level is not thrusting. Print thruster level. Aha. It's not changing at all. One is not working. Did I mistype the name of that property? Binding thrust low, that's the problem. Found it. Yeah, okay, perfect. So what did I change? So laser cannons attack. We're actually calling this. And then we're going to let's see if we can hook up to a just projectile spawned event and see it even doing anything. Projectile connect function. How is this? The mark special where you define your function right in line. Things like this. Print pew. Didn't like that. Missed them friends. Ah, yes. Need to close. I know that looked goofy at the end. Alright, it is actually firing a projectile. Don't see it, which implies it's calling something immediately. Okay, don't see the hierarchy. But that is good to know. We're getting somewhere. Alright. If print object dot is valid, is projectile valid? Let's see if we can get information about the projectile. Let's work on this guy a little bit. Client context. I want to click. It's a horrible pattern. No, it's not horrible. It's just a funny trick. All right, I want some sounds. Audio, laser, gunshot, generic laser shot. Oh, it's a set. Doesn't have a play button. Oh, Matthew, you have way too many things. Sure. Autoplay, attenuation, occlusion, no. Transient. Is there a looping? Making part of the projectile feels kind of weird. Kind of want it to just be part of the gun itself, so I'll do that. And that would be transient, autoplay. Oh, of course. I tried this yesterday. I was like, man, when I uncheck the box, I can't hear it. It's because it's localized or spatialized. Probably want these like 10 times bigger given that they're in space. Maybe higher pitch. Nope, that sounds terrible. Yeah. Basically, my approach to sounds. Pitch up, pitch down, see what it sounds like. Oh, the pierces. That's a good idea. All right. So this is laser cannon effects, and this is going to become my projectile. All right. So our weapon, muzzle flash template. That's not. Oh, I can't write that in there, right? Of course. Okay, custom property. I need the actual definition. Trail down beam. Impacts. Not worried about that for now. Okay, and you're right. So we're gonna take the pierces. Pierces. 100. Well, it's firing. That's cool. And I should change the speed which this thing can. It's firing from the origin of the world. And always in the same direction. That is surprising. Also, my template needs to be sideways. Oh, right, you need to rotationally offset the projectile inside the template, because if I just rotate the thing and then make a template, got it. Then it doesn't actually rotate. All right, so we set this to follow look vector, which I see why this doesn't work. All right, this is funny. That's coming from exactly the origin. That's just a coincidence. So it's my look vector it's using that to know what angle to go at, but the trick with the spaceship is that it's rotating my look vector back to 0 every frame. So that's positive x-axis. And then it's finding the actual player model who's down at 0, 0, negative 4,000. If I fly down here, I'm invisible right here. And so that's where the closest point on the ray is there. Okay, so that doesn't work at all. Let us fix some things. First of all, the cylinder is got to rotate. Okay, perfect. Second, weapon file look vector, no good. Muzzle look vector, also no good unless I can set the rotation from script. Custom, position, rotation. Well, so let's make a left laser cannon. This is probably what you ran into. We're going to stick it over there. It's probably going to be... Alright, so I'm shooting lasers. But if I'm actually flying around... How laggy are they is the question. I want them to always appear on my screen. They're also way too slow. 12,000 maybe. Maybe make them a little bit skinnier. A lot skinnier. A much brighter color. No, I just killed it. Whoops. Yep. There's my left laser shooting from the right side. Okay. So you see there's my camera and the laser's coming from the actual ship itself. That's the problem. We want it to care about your view and look right from first person. In third person, watching someone else's ship shoot, I'm actually kind of expecting the lasers to not quite line up, but maybe that won't be too bad. Hopefully, I think that'll be better than this way. All right. So how do we do stuff with this? There's a bunch of functions. They're somewhat ineffective. We're going to hope that we can find one that works. So we need, well, first we can attack a target. We're not even using attack, are we? We're back on, oh, we are using attack. Great. Okay, so that gives us one thing we can try to do. The other thing we can try to do, we need to set the initial position of it, is in here you can change the target, set target data. I have rarely been able to get this to work, but we'll see what we can do with it. In this case, we can probably use the weapons target to get the angle, or set the angle, and use this to set the position maybe. Simulate target has a aim position and an aim direction. So let's see what we can do with that. We need the attack ability now. Does the client script have that? It does, great. So let's get down here. Function on cast, ability, and function on execute. This is something that I should probably figure out at some point why Sublime sucks at indenting. So I'm going to try both phases. I'm not sure which one I actually need. One of them might do it. And down here, attack ability, cast event. Execute event. So we have all on the client, we actually have all the stuff we need to tell it where to actually put the laser. And since this is a weapon, hopefully the client version spawns it immediately in the right spot and it looks correct. We could even go crazy with it and inherit your velocity. So like I was thinking, like you don't want it to like slide off to the side immediately if you're turning or if you're going quickly. That wouldn't actually help because you're always going forward. So if you're turning, you do want to do that. If you were sliding sideways, you'd want it to inherit your velocity. That would be important. All right, so we have to make. Let's put this on the right side of the screen. Ooh, that did things. We have to make an ability target. Local ability target. Ability target. New. Ability target. Nope. Set aim position. What is our current position? Position. So for now, we're just going to try dead center of the ship. If this works correctly, then it will be easy to make it alternate with one weapon. Ability target. Set aim direction. Current view quaternion. Well, okay, what can a quaternion do? Does that have a get forward vector? I think it does. I'm used to multiplying rotation by something. And this width, I lose my table of contents. Can I drag this over a little bit? That's not really table of contents. Maybe it is. I don't know. Get forward vector. Okay, yeah. And it does know how to oh, it does know how to multi-vector. That would totally work too. Good to know. All right, then we go back up to ability. We have set target data. So attack ability, set target data, ability, target. I'm just gonna take these exact 4 lines, copy them here and here. And when we attack, we're going to attack at current position plus that guy. So try to get the same data in both places and see what it does. Besides script error at me. That guy, delete that laser projectile. Ooh, that was delayed. Doesn't work at all. Why is it so delayed? Cast, execute. Alright, you may be right. This may be doomed. Actually, doomed is relative. We don't need projectiles. We don't need weapons at all. Alright, we can do this ourselves. I was gonna say I could just start doing the same thing that I did with the ship in the first place and just replace Unreal's layer, but this one's actually much simpler to do because lasers don't fall, they don't do strange things, they just go in a straight line. That's way easier to do. Alright, pow, out of there. Do this ourselves. What was on my to-do list, by the way? Implement ground collision. Implement custom lasers. Alright, let's do ground collision. That's quick. Mix it up a little bit, and then we're gonna have some lasers. So in ship server, on ship update tick, here's where we actually move the ship, right? So local new position equals that. Current position equals new position. So I'm just cutting that into 2 lines. Try to cut this into a few more vectors to make, or variables to make it readable. Okay. Basically, I'm going to send a trace from current position to new position. If I hit something, I'm going to say you're colliding and explode you. So world, I'll call it hit result equals world.raycast current position, new position. Can I make it ignore the ship itself? Let's see what Raycast has. Ignore teams. Don't return any players belonging to team or teams. Ignore players. I see. People want more control here. Well, that's what we have. If it results, then else. And if you hit something, then you just stop the ship. You just collide into something, just wham, immediately stop. Sure. Result, get impact position. Oops. And if I do that, let's make a print in here. So this might actually just let you go through the next frame, or it doesn't actually tell the client to stop the ship. No, so it assumes our ship is infinitely small. I can no longer get in the ship. How did I break that? Interacted. Oh, I deleted the laser cannons. And because of that, that script wasn't running at all. And we've got to get rid of this stuff. So no longer laser cannons, no longer on cast or execute. I'm just going to comment these out because we'll need some of this code. I don't want to have to just figure it all out myself again. And then don't need that guy. Okay. Well, that moves. Goes right through the ground. Didn't even fail me. Didn't even make a print or anything. Script, what are you even doing? Really? Did raycast not hit terrain? Well, as is often the case when I have a raycast and it's not doing at all what I expect, I start core debug, draw a line. I should just, this should just be part of raycast, the debug draw. I don't actually mean that, but it would be helpful. Right. So first thing we do, current position, new position. And then we want duration equals 2, color equals green, thickness equals 2. And if hit results, then actually we'll split this out nicely in case this comes up in a minute. The way I've done this before is to make it two debug lines so it shows where it went into the thing. So the red one and the green one, the red one is from impact position to the new position. The green one, like it goes green until it hits something, and then it goes red after that. Okay. So we did that. And we're back to testing. Testing. All right, we got green. As we collide with the ground, do we have a laser? Oh, I need to make them last longer because they don't actually stop when you hit the ground. It's also very hard to tell from this angle. All right, let us... we'll make this last 20.2 so we can leave a super long trail of them. Oh, they're not going far enough at all. I guess they're just dots. Why are they just dots? Alright. This only dealt with one case as well. When a new ship update comes in, we change current position. And we add the new offset. And we should do this in a slightly different way, but I'm trying to figure out why this isn't going very far. You'd think that the ship, like basically the client's sending update 5 times a second, and each time the server moves its position because we didn't do this correctly. But between those, we're kind of maybe revealed another bug. The server is just assuming that velocity is happening and moving it along, but it's moving it very little. Like I would expect the next update from the client to be close to where we are, not barely touched. Or, nope, I really bug in a different way. I need to do this before I set one to the other. This needs to be at the bottom of this function. That is the problem. Okay. Now we get in here. Boop. Alright, well, we hit a collision. Okay, this looks closer to what I'm expecting. I didn't handle the updates, but you see where it's snapping. If I fly in a straight line, you see that they line up exactly. Where I went through the ground, I hit a collision. Where did that collision actually go? Let's go through the ground again. Should be a red line there somewhere. Really? No red lines? There we go. That tiny little piece of red. Alright, so the collision works. We need to handle the ship update case as well. Basically, function on position change, or yeah, old position, new position. We're gonna split out this logic. It's up here, old position to new position. And then some of this stuff. Just gonna drag the entire thing in there. So as if I want to move logic around, that's easy to just copy paste and then delete the parts you don't need anymore. So this doesn't need these parts. This doesn't need. I'm going to move that into here. It doesn't need the entire function, just do that entire case. Just needs that. How was before. We don't even need new position, we can just set current position right here. That's fine. Oh no, we actually do need that one. Just kidding. Because we have to call this function. Right here. For what it's worth that the way I had that a second ago, I broke the logic a little bit by moving this underneath this. This spaceship was one more frame behind than it should have been. Current position, new position. Okay. And up here, and in each case we should add the offset actually, because the position plus the offset is the real position. The kind of maybe poor naming position is the last position the client sent us, and the offset is our lerping factor. Local old position equals current position plus current offset. And then here on position change, old position, current position plus current offset. Okay. And now if we get position change, we draw some lines. If I fly around the spaceship, they hopefully are connected nicely. No, terrible. Well, that's kind of crazy. Looks like I forgot an offset in at least one of these cases that is being sent in every line is drawing. Position is current position plus current offset. Then we set current offset and current position. The new position is the new one. Down here, we have a new position and a current position. In those cases, they have an offset. B. This is a hack. I want to know which one's failing. Give it a true for one of these. Make it a different color. All right. So the start points of the blue lines Wow, this is really confusing. The blue lines look mostly wrong. The green lines. Why, if I'm adding a vector to both sides of this, does it look so different than it did before? So these are the blue ones. Blue ones are crazy, right? Oh, basis doesn't feel worse than it does. I just learned something. Oh no, no, never mind. That worked. Okay. Hold position. What happens if I flying a straight line? I just spawned a bunch of things by hitting numbers by accident. Let's delete all those. Alright, so in a straight line, they're all on top of each other. Turn up, and they're all wonky. That was a bigger detour than expected to go to ground collision. We'll get to the lasers in a minute. I have confidence. Forward current speed, delta time. How can these blue lines? Am I setting the position back over and over again? Looks like the green updates come much less often, right? That's how they should be. I'm drawing the. Aha! That's the problem. The lines are wrong. Hit an error because current speed is a variable up here. Okay, so it did feel like it was working all right. Look at that. Smooth as butter. Surprised there are gaps. Could be the debug draw function. And these slight updates, if I do a sharp turn, the green line should be more obvious. All right, the green lines seem wrong. Saw a green one in there somewhere. Do we set the world position of the ship anywhere else? Oh, we're okay, this makes sense. The offset changes. We didn't even count for that at all. The offset lerps itself down, so we're slightly off and the offset's lerping itself constantly. Then the updates from the client don't actually do anything because we're not in a multiplayer setup. Okay, that's fine. We could do that, and then they would line up. Which the goal of this is to have the things line up perfectly so we can't go through the ground occasionally. Yeah, look at that. Smooth as can be. No, this wasn't complicated at all. All right, so we're taking this argument right out of there. Don't need that. Don't need this case anymore. Turn that back to green. And now what do we do if we collide at the ground? Because this is the classic movement problem, right? The server has to send an update to the client, and we're far enough off that we can't just have the client do the same math and end up at the same place. We could do this in a different way, which will be a little bit simpler than what we just did. We could do the same logic on the client instead of the server, and just have it say, just trust the client to know when it ran into something. Which is probably the right way to do this. It'll be a lot simpler too after I did all that work, right? Because there's no offset on the client. It's just this line right here. Local new position equals what do I call this function? Position change, maybe that's what I want. Maybe I want to call it like a check move function that actually does something different when you do it. So rotation, yeah, okay. We're gonna take this line right here, we're just gonna put it right here in this function. Result equals, there's new position, current position is the one we had before. If hit result, then current position equals hit result, get impact position. I realize this will put you halfway into the ground. Thruster level equals 0. Just turns off your thrusters, stops you dead. Current position, current speed. It also stops your speed. Otherwise, we actually just use a new position. And on the server, we're going to leave that logic there for now. It's not hurting anything. Bam. Stuck in the ground. Can fly out. Can't go into the ground. Boop. Well, that's pretty cool. Crunch. Maybe the timing on these doesn't count down in pause, but it does. It does count down for like a second as you pause. That's what happens. All right, sweet. We can collide things. We could obviously collide farther out, do more traces, try to collide with the entire ship, that sort of thing. Put a trigger on the ship. That actually might be well, I guess that would be an easy way to work if the trigger collided with the terrain. I don't think it does. I have done very little trigger collision with things that are not players. It's ugly, I didn't realize that. Do I actually want to leave this around? Will this be useful? I don't think so. I think we're just going to get rid of it. Alright, so now that we've done that, did we add variables we didn't actually need? Not there. Yeah, here we could just get rid of that guy entirely. Alright, ground collision. Implement lasers. Sweet. Alright, same deal. Oh, I see. I remember why we did this. You're probably thinking the same thing. We're going to use ability or equipment or weapon because if we use a All right, so finding middle ground. It's like we don't want to fire events, right? We don't want custom events because we're already using a bunch of events with movement. More custom event sucks. Like I can use an ability to at least trigger it, but then the server's one's got to go in the same place. Does it know where my view is? Maybe. Maybe an ability will work. Let's find out. Laser ability. Okay. Put in here. Let's worry about that guy later. I was going to use this as a laser position. In fact, we should probably still do that. Well, we'll do it next. Custom lasers, do alternating sides and custom positions. Custom lasers. So we have a laser ability. When you get in this thing, since it's not equipment anymore, we have to actually change the owner. That should be all we need for a laser, right? Oh, direction in a vector. So you can't tell where right and left are. I see. This is the thing you told me. You've done this before. Why? That's a real bummer. Let's look at ability. Get target data as an ability. Target, aim, direction, position. They're all vectors. Hit position. All right. So let's try using the let's just try using the last rotation that the client sent to the server without even worrying about the lerping. Just take whatever last value they sent, and it will be close-ish. We'll see how bad it feels. But otherwise, we'll do the same thing you just did. Or you just talked about, that you have already done. So we need a reference to this ability. We have a laser ability. Needs to have no cooldown. Maybe like 0.3 second cooldown, I don't know. And the client script, wait, the other way around. The client script needs a reference to it. And the server script also needs a reference to it, right? Because they have to do the same thing. Or maybe they don't. Maybe the client script can do both halves of it. No, the server needs to know for impacts and spawn a networked thing. I feel like we're going to do the same trick. The clients are going to spawn one. The firing client is going to spawn one, and then the server is going to spawn one, and the projectile is going to be smart and not show itself to the firing client. It'll still be networked so the other clients get it, versus trying to do some custom event networked replication. I think we can. This is easier than like having a custom property that triggers it, or an event from the server that fires it for the other clients, or the other clients trying to reproduce the same deal in here. But maybe they can do that. Maybe everyone can get their own. That might work. Get back to the server context collision problems. I think what we're going to do is have a different. I want the server side projectile to only be server side, but I do want it to collide with things. So I will make it not. I'll make different templates, and the server side one will not have any visuals at all. It'll still be networked because it has to be, because it needs to collide with things, and confusingly server contexts don't trigger things. I guess they don't have collision. I wonder if you can force on collision. Let's take a quick detour out of here to test 2. I clicked to move stuff I did yesterday. Let us make a server context. Make a trigger. collision, force on, it already was anyway. Collidotron. Group dot parent dot begin overlap event connect function trigger other. If other is a player, then print hello. Okay. And this guy is right on the origin. Not visible at all. That kind of doesn't give me high hopes for this. Yeah, it sure does not collide. Alright, and if we take this out of our super context, nothing. It moved a lot. Wow, that is way out there. My super context was... I'm surprised. Now it's visible. It does work. With a player, at least. Okay. If I... Okay. We're running the realm that I'm not familiar with, which is that I need a trigger to collide with something that's not a player, because the spaceships don't have players in them. So if I want lasers to hit someone at all, I can do a bunch of custom work and break my own collision layer, or I can make these triggers work. Maybe my own collision layer is a better solution. Who knows? You kind of want to be able to make a trigger that's a funny shape, a capsule, or matches your spaceship shape. What do these actually collide with? That is the question. So I'm going to take this out of here. String.format collision with something. ToString other. Alright, collide with something. We print it out. We add more friends so it doesn't complain. That's supposed to be a comma. With player, easy. Can we collide with the cube? Just a networked object. I'm going to put two on top of each other. And text. Should have both at the same time. Basically, I'm going to add identifying property so I can tell which one it is. SC for server context, and W for networked. All right. So right now, if I step into this, it does both. Great. I'm actually going to make a third one. Put in a client context for some real testing. That CC. Go with all three of them. Perfect. Our cube. Take over here. And it's going to be networked. And it's going to have a mover. Mover. Script.parent.move to script.parent, or move continuous actually. That's just a velocity, right? Just one single value. It's like I wrote this function and I don't remember what it takes. Yes. Negative vector 3 dot right. So our cube moves. Sure doesn't. It's moving hella slow. Alright. Let's make that a little faster. That is centimeters per second. Look at that. All three of them collide with the stack mesh. That's super awesome. That's way more useful than I thought. How about a trigger? Actually, let's do the same thing. Static mesh. I really want the name of the thing it collides with. Everything's got a name, right? The dot name, other dot ID. We want both those. So we'll give it a %s on that. That way, I can just name the cubes. Our cubes collide with each of them 3 times? Really? Oh, there's 3 cubes. Ha! I made 3 cubes. I get it. One of these is supposed to go into client context. Let's... Are these contexts? Oh, you see what I did? I accidentally put these in the server context and didn't notice. That is unfortunate. Alright, so then collide down our triggers. Put 1 cube in the client context. 1 cube in the server context. And 1 cube in neither. Move these guys groups so they can feel like they're doing something. So one of the cubes collided with all 3. Probably the networked cube. SC cube, CC cube, and W cube. Yes. The client context cube and the server context cube did not trigger any triggers at all. This is actually quite insightful. I have never looked at this before, and I'm learning things. I'm going to move all these cubes over so they're faster. Then we're going to do the same pattern with other objects. So we're going to take these 3. Actually, I can't do that because it's not just a different mesh. I'm going to do it with other triggers that have no scripts on them. And I guess they will have a script. It's going to be the same script the cube has on it. Trig mover. Networked trigger. Server context trigger. Client context trigger. Okay, and our triggers are probably off in who knows where. I am quite surprised. What is happening? Oh, the bug. Or are these 3? Oh, one of these have transforms. Okay, that's not a bug. That was an interesting interaction. Cubes go there. Triggers. Triggers. Go there. And other triggers. There, okay. Trigger itself is not networked. Yep, that's true. Interesting. All right, so our client context and server context cube did not collide with anything. They don't have collision enabled. And I bet even if I turn on collision, it won't change anything. I realize I'm a single player preview hero. But our triggers collided with everything. Every trigger collided with every trigger. Although, I guess they trigger the collisions of the triggers with each other while they're at the start was not like happened before the events were connected. That seems wrong, but might just be single player preview if we. Oh. Yes, okay, that's the behavior we're looking for. So our network cube, our client context trigger didn't collide with anything because it's on the client. That makes sense. The server context trigger collided with the server context trigger and the network trigger. Like the network and server context stuff all collide with each other. This actually works a lot like you'd expect. The server context cube did not collide with anything though. Its collision is really off. Oh, I paused, right? All right, I'm gonna do one more thing to this. Client context, this guy. If script is client only, then events.broadcast to server print. String equals blah. I don't know if it'll actually let the string get through. It might be too big. We're going to try. Okay. And then we're going to have a server printer. Function on print. String s print and connect print on print. All right, and we want to actually client come on. Client collision. That totally worked. That's really cool. So the client context trigger, the one that's sitting right in front of me is not moving, sent a collision with both the networked cube and the networked trigger. Surprisingly late, actually. I wonder if one last test. If I take all the moving stuff, drag it way over here, so the client has time to connect. Bam. Okay, same deal. All right, so if we were to put this in a spreadsheet, I'm going to draw a picture on a piece of paper, note card here. There are probably more cases here I'd want to know about, things like, did I freeze here? It appears, oh there we are, we're back, okay. That's where I saw myself paused. Okay, the things we want to know about, like, does this collide with projectiles? Does this collide with other, you know, well, if we load up all the types, right? Like, it's not gonna, some of these things don't have collision, probably won't collide with them, but there's got to be more things. Player, projectile, things I would care about. Well, if it could collide with groups or abilities, that might be useful to know, or equipment, but I'd be surprised. Terrain. I don't know. I should test that. That actually seems important to know. Triggers, buttons, vectors. Yeah, I guess that's really it. Let's do the same test we're doing right now. We're going to take all these three guys and move them up a little bit. Then we're going to delete the floor and have terrain. Old rolling hills. Good for testing stuff. All right. So how long does this take to collide things? Not that long. We'll make it faster. Mover. Let's get it 400. Okay. Did we hit terrain? Oh, right, the trigger's over here. The trigger's not moving, of course. What did I expect? Can I move the terrain? That's probably not a thing I can do. I can move the terrain a little bit. I can't move it at runtime. Alright, we're gonna steal this guy out of here. Give it a new script. Trigger mover. This is a single player preview only script. Parent attached to player game get players one root. Is that between your legs? What's the what did you say? Trigger cloud projectiles for sure. I just said that. Server projectiles do triggers. Got it. I basically want to put this thing in front of me so I can run around and know where it is, know what it's clouding with. Animation sockets. These are all, oh, this is the column. Camera, root, head, neck, pelvis. We're gonna try pelvis, that seems fine. Script, parent, set, position, 3 dot forward times 200, so it's 2 meters in front of me. It doesn't like that at all, because this trigger is not networked. That's fine. Okay. So, one of these triggers. It's getting no collisions at all. Yep, cannot cloud a terrain. That would be pretty nifty, honestly. Okay, well, we have our answers. This thing is totally going to work. That actually makes a lot more sense. The head socket has a lot of power. I didn't write down my chart at all, but that's fine. All right, so what are we actually doing here? We are going to close all these junky scripts I just wrote with horrible capitalization. Don't need that guy anymore. Custom lasers. So we are using an ability, and we are both creating a client-side predicted projectile and having the server create a fake, server-side only projectile, or truly, I mean, it could just be a server context projectile. That would be preferable. We don't want to have to waste bandwidth saying this to the client. The question is, can I put this script in a server context? I hope so. Let's just test that by itself with no other changes. Can I fly around? Do I have a server representation? Working multiplayer. This would not work when I had so what am I looking for? Why are these windows so big? This would not work when I previously had the network custom properties on the script, because the client script wouldn't be able to see them. I could have moved it to a different place, but I don't have that pattern anymore. All right, fly the script, fly the ship. Doesn't look smooth, but I suspect that's my computer and not how it actually looks. Let's. Oh, that does not look good. This might be the thing I did today. This might be why it's broken. All right, back to the drawing board. A little bit. All right, so our problem here, am I actually pausing, like freezing here, or is this just my own Twitch watch viewing myself? I assume you guys would be saying something if it was terrible. I should have thought about this more. The problem is that the clients, this is actually fixable in an even different way. Okay, you know, say freeze is great. The clients themselves, because this is not a physics object, they are just getting updates 10 times a second. This is the same problem with setting position over and over again, which is exactly what I'm doing. Setting network properties over and over again is no better for network traffic. We have to do this to get it to move around at all, but we can do the same offset behavior on the clients for the other clients, only just move the geo folder. And so you expect every time you get an update, you then extrapolate the geo folder or you interpolate it. Yeah, okay, that'll work. We want to extrapolate, I think. Let us worry about that next. Fix client side movement. I'm wondering if this is actually, if I should just go back to where it was before. Because I did have that working. And this does not gain a lot. Actually, it does gain some. It makes it a lot easier to work with that you're moving the entire thing and not moving some server representation part, and makes the collisions work a little better. I hope. We're basically just going to set the position of the geofolder itself, leave it parented. If you're not in the ship, else we have a way to know when we last got an update. That is the real question. We just have to check every frame if it's different than it was before. So if we're not in it, if we're not in the ship, the script basically does nothing right now, right? If you're not in the ship, we watch roll toggle, which doesn't do anything. We handle destruction. And yeah, so the script basically does nothing at all if you're not in the ship. So this is a new local offset. Vector 3.0. Actually, we don't even need to store this in a variable. Yeah, because we're just going to use the position of the geofolder for it. So if we're not in it, then we need to start using current position. So it's not being used. We're just going to repurpose the same variable. It's exactly the name we need. So used when not in the ship. We also need to know the speed of the ship. This is... We know the rotation, we know the position, we don't know the speed. Maybe we do need a single network property. We could try to go based on the previous two positions and judge that, but it's going to look janky. I'm going to think about it a little bit, if this is worse than what we were doing before. This is, it has the advantage of being simple to work with, that your whole spaceship is actually moving, that we're not doing some more horrible trickery, but the disadvantage is that the client server are not going to, like, one of the advantages of how I had said before was that everyone except for the local client actually agreed very clearly. And as soon as we start doing this, it's going to be a little bit off. Well, sort of. The server only checks, you know, basically just lerps between steps, so we're not too much worse. But if we start trying to make it look smooth, we're going to add a little more on top of that, like we did with when you pause in single player preview and see where the ship actually is. I wish I could send more updates. This would be way better if I could send like 30 updates instead of or just 10 updates really. That's as many as I can send, right? Let's, is it in a state right now where I can play with it? Okay, yeah. Basically, the question is if I just take this number right here and make it 9, I can still get outside of it. All right. Yep. Something I'd like to understand a lot better. I will probably spend a lot of time thinking about this because I'd like to understand how it works in for players specifically and that sort of thing to make our movement better. Well, let's try one. Let's see what it looks like. So we're going to actually replicate the speed again. Where should I hide that? Laser ability. So I can't put it on the server script because the client script can't see it. I can't put it in the client script because the server script can't see it. I can just put it right here. Float current speed. Enable property networking. Great. Okay, so the server script, we get an update to one of the things we do is spaceship set networked custom property current speed. All right, great. So the client can know how fast we're going whenever it wants to. Now, down here, we basically we can use this. It's really previous position. So did the thing move? Did we get an update from the server? If due position is not equal to current position, then we have to handle the lerping case, which we'll copy this code in a second. And then either way, whether or not it moved, we need to also handle the lerping case. Basically, we're just adding the velocity times delta time, right? So current offset equals geo get position. So we don't want the world position, we want the offset from the, like the client has nothing, the offset from the spaceship itself. And geo is what I called that, right? Yes. So if we, without having a new position, plus spaceship get custom property current velocity. It's called current speed, right? I did this correctly. Yes. All right, that is not going to fit one line. Local speed equals that. Times, man, world rotation. This is backwards. Times vector 3 forward. Okay, so every frame we say, hey, let's update our offset. Let's move it forward a little bit based on the current speed we're going times the rotation. Rotation times forward is a unit vector forward relative to the ship, and times delta time. Speed is distance over time. Doing Newton's method here. Okay. So there's our offset. Then if we got a new update from the server, then we were like, oh, we need to do something about this. We need to fix up our this logic right here. that guy, I'm just going to copy paste in here and then fix variable names because it took me a little bit of thinking to wrap my head around exactly how to do this. So old position, current position plus current offset. That is one way to do it. I can also just do GeoGet world position. But I do have current offset here. I do have current position. This actually just works, right? I don't think it matters if this is first or last, but we'll figure it out. Then current offset, we're going to change the offset. So we take the position plus the offset minus position. What was position over here? That's the new position, which we just got right here. All right, so now we've changed the offset, and then we basically what this does is it moves the internal representation of the like it doesn't do anything to our visuals. It just updates these variables. And the reason we do that is we're going to use this as the reason we care about this at all, rather than just ignoring the update from the server, is that we're going to lerp towards that value. We're going to constantly approach that value and be as close as we can. So this keeps it moving steady, and then we need the part that actually lerps down this guy here. We want to do this first, I think. Here we're actually moving the position. We don't want to do that. We want to use the offset for both halves of this, for the velocity and for the lerping. So we can't actually set, maybe we need two variables for this because we can't actually set the position of the ship because it's networked. So we can't control that. But we don't want the lerping to approach backwards. We don't want to pull it back from where it's interpolating. We want it to approach the straight line that we're interpolating on. So we do need two variables here. All right, let's grab this whole chunk of logic and throw it down here so we can reference it. And then local lerp offset. So this is the one that we're going to use two different offsets here, right? So there's the geo's position will be the combination of both. Maybe we need to store both of them because, yeah, we do need to store both of them. Local velocity offset, or extrapolation. Offset. So extrapolation is when you go beyond a point, which is what we're doing. Every time we get an update from the server, we're just going off in a direction, hoping that's where we want to be. Lerp offset, extrapolation offset. Two values. So we don't need that anymore. So extrapolation offset is being increased by the speed. We're going to save this into a variable. I believe this is this guy right here. Yes. Ship forward. Current speed, ship forward all the time. We don't need that anymore at all. The position will come down here. Okay. So extrapolation offset just gets moved forward. That's fine. Then, did we get an update? If so, then we're going to change lerp offset. That one gets adjusted, so that's the value we're lerping down. Then, if delta time is greater than 0, this is a check to avoid a script error. And problem script error, more than just it being an error, is that it will stop the script from running. As we consider the last update receive time, yeah. How often are we even going to get these things? Well, that's going to come into here, right? Is it? Do we care? Are we just constantly lerping? So we might just do this in a non-linear manner. The way this worked on the server is we had a pretty regular cadence. We knew exactly when updates were coming from the client. Or in this case, it's going to follow Unreal's rules, and it might, if we're in a real laggy game, it might be less often. We can't depend on that as consistently. So we were able to just set it up to lerp at the right cadence, and each frame we said how much of the time left till we want it to be 0 do we have. In this case, I don't think we can do that consistently. I think what we should do is if the offset's bigger than a certain amount, we should do a geometric non-linear interpolation. We should just go 40% of the way or 20% of the way or something. If you're really off, it should pull you back in. And then if you're smaller than a certain amount, it should just say, hey, that's 5 more frames or something. That's when we're going to be there. Local linear interpolation time. I can just call it lerp time, I guess. I was going to contrast it with nonlinear. GURP time. Sure, why not? Try 10 frames. 0.15, something. That's not quite 10 frames, but it's like 9 frames. Local GURP rate or ratio. All right, so it'll do if we're above that, we'll do a third per frame, which is going to be really jarring. So hopefully we don't hit that. And we'll put some prints to see how it works. If we're below it, we'll do this. All right, put this down here for reference. All right, so the thing we're changing is this lerp offset. Extrapolation offset's already there. If offset greater than let me just hard code some values here. If we're greater than like a meter off, that's going to happen immediately. Let's say 5 meters. Then local t. Sure. Then t equals 1 minus GURP ratio. Okay. Else int. So if we're pretty far off, then we just take 1 minus this number here, and that's how far we're going. We're going. Actually, it should just be GURP ratio. We're going 30% of the way. If we are not that far, then we care what time it is. I really care how long delta time is. T equals delta time divided by lerp time. And I could have done that. I could have avoided this entire check. I see now how I can do this. Min 0.0. 1.0? 1.0. Okay. So delta time is always 0 or positive. So at the worst case, and lerp time is constant. So in the worst case, this is 0. As it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, delta time could be. No, this is going to be very constant. That's not what I want. Then we're back to geometric land. What I want is a constant rate of changing, like the biggest lerp step size. Lerp steps. Max lerp steps. We're going to two variables. Equals 10. Local max lerp offset size equals 500. So that's the value we used before. We're using it again. So this is basically above this size, you do this. Below the size, you take this many steps to go from here to 0. I may have made this a lot worse, but that's all right. We learned a bunch of things about triggers. So that's this guy right here. And then below that number, this thing is that divided by that. And in fact, maybe we do need a time value here. Basically, we need to know how far did we... Yeah, this is not the right value. Rethinking yet again. Lerp speed. Okay. So this is how many units per time we can go. So if it's supposed to take 10 steps that are one frame each, it's supposed to take 150 milliseconds to go 500 units, 166. So that's about 30 units per millisecond. Or, is that right? I've got a calculator here. Whew. 500 divided by 0.166. 3,000. Okay, yep. So 3,000 per second. So this is that guy right there. That is how fast you can go. So then, if we take the speed divided by delta time, tells us how, or multiply by delta time, that tells us how many, which distance we can go. Yeah, okay. So delta time times speed is how much distance we can go, divided by how much distance we have to go, or we can go, total. So how much distance you can go. Here's, oh no, we actually need how far off we actually are, not the maximum. Okay. So here's how many dot size. Here's how far off we are. Here's how far we can go in a frame. And with that, in this frame specifically, that tells us our t. If it's the same distance, t is 1, we're going to go the whole way. If it's smaller, we'll go less. All right, we are making progress. And now this little offset, do we use a little offset here at all? No. We need roughly these lines. Not quite. So this middle one is this guy up here that we did, where we kept the speed going. 4 times current speed times delta time. That seems like we should keep that in the same order. We did it before, previously we did it after. I don't know that it matters. I don't think it matters. All right. Then we're lerping. We're lerping extrapolation offset. No, we're lerping lerp offset. And then we're adding all three of them together. 30 t, open towards nothing, set the current position. This actually has to be way up here, because once we do this calculation, we have adjusted to the new position. Otherwise, we'll get one frame way off if we don't put that in there. All right, horrible bunch of math, and it's going to break terribly. 166, compare a number with vector. Okay. Yep, gotta do size over here too. Actually says f vector, I reported this yesterday. Yep. All right, so the client, we can fly around. Seems to work. Pause. Got normal behavior. Okay. That's not the case where my new script does anything at all. Let's find the script where my new thing does anything at all. 2 copies of me. can't even fly it. Oh, we're both in the spaceship. I don't know, you could do that. That's probably the thing I should do. Alright, so that sounds like a client-side script error. And we will do the old find those files. And I'll show you where they are in a second here. So they're in your documents, games, core, saved, logs. And if you look at modified, you'll see 2 and 3. Those are the clients. This is the editor itself. We're going to send this to Sublime. Well, let's just open Sublime. Drag it over. All right, so we're looking for Lua, error running Lua task. That is it. Ideally, these would show up in the log. That may come in the future. Oh, yes, of course. 173. Anything else in this one? I talked through the whole thing, and yeah, okay, that is easy to fix. Great. I can't move the spaceship. I need to move the geo, and I just need the offsets. Let me make a note about 2 people can't get in ship. That seems like it could be a problem, depending on what you're doing with these ships. Well, this is interesting. One of the clients moved the ship. One of them did not. It's moving around. Let's back up a little bit. No, that looks a lot worse than it did before. My logic's got some flaws in it. See, it's moving backwards sometimes. I'm guessing when it's getting updates, it's doing it backwards. Alright. So, more debugging. I've really gone to the deep end today. Maybe I should start with something easier. Let's see who's still watching. It claims there are people here. That's great. You guys are wonderful. Uh-huh. Alright, so it's possible that every time I get a new position update, the tick runs too late and there's one frame where it snaps. So every time I get updated, it snaps back and then forward again. If that's the case, then this approach is kind of fundamentally flawed. We might have to go back to how we did it before, which I guess how it is. That would be one thing that could happen here. Another thing that could happen, how did it get set in the first place? So you weren't in the ship. Current speed was 0. That's the default, right? Ship 4, extrapolation offset. So current speed is 0, that does nothing. It starts at 0, right? What was current position before? Spaceship get world position. New position, also spaceship get world position, so they should be the same. So this shouldn't run at all. That might also be somehow when that gets a tick, it was in the wrong place. It's a networked ship. The client could. That shouldn't happen. The spaceship's got to be there before it, with the right transform before it runs the scripts. And then this is not true. Or if offset size is 0, I divided by 0. Um, that's confusing that that worked. And then, so this was definitely 1. Let's set it to 1. Yeah, I'd be interested to know. Print string.format. I want to know 2 things. I want to know the whole shebang. So one of these is, no, didn't end my string. New position. Oh, I didn't need this line here. That's just the same line right before it. And one of these is just these 2 together. Or, yeah, basically, I want to know them each individually. I want to know, is the lerp doing its thing, and is the extrapolation making sense? So we'll do a third one here. Is tell me I don't have enough parentheses, because that's basically always what happens when I try to print these things. Outer one. Yeah, I need one more. Okay. This is client. And this only shows up, let's see what happens if I do single point preview. Ships in the wrong place. Okay. Immediately. That's really helpful. So the first one, the second one, the third one. Second one, third one are both 0, as expected. So this should not be setting the geo folder at all. But yet the geo folder has an offset. Oh. Yep. I see it. Alright. Well, that's one problem. That actually might be all of our problem. I was setting world position, not position. Ah. Alright, spaceship's in the right place. Fly it around. Great. 2 players. Easier than expected. Okay, and the ship looks okay. Let's see how horrible this looks. Pretty bad. Oh, look at that smoke trail. It's telling us what it's doing. Do you see what it's doing? It doesn't line up with where I am at all. It's not lerping in. It's going flying off into the distance. Something's getting out of control. Oh, right. I can run into the ground now. Forgot about that. Is this where I crashed? No. Alright, so what I need, I'm going to do print. Print will show up in the log. It won't show up anywhere else. I'm just going to watch the same data. And open the log and see is one of those not being contained. Let's make this a little bit smaller. So it gets crazier and crazier as I fly. Something's getting out of control. I come back and try to hit the other player. I'm nowhere to be found. Oh, there I am. So So I have a very large offset here. We're not moving. But I have a sizable offset that's not going away. All right. Before I even look at the log, I'm going to look at the script a little bit. So the lerp offset's always getting smaller. The extrapolation offset never gets smaller. Okay, that's the problem. We ideally would set this to 0 every time we get a new update. That's what we should be doing. And we're going to have to do a little bit more here. Old position actually involves the extrapolation offset. Because we're about to set to 0. And the new position does not, so the lerp offset takes that into account. This is madness. All right, feels okay in single player. If people have opinions on what they would like to watch me make, I have lots of ideas for things and only a few that I really feel like I want to watch, want to make soon. So I'm very flexible in what I want to do. Ooh, now we're going sideways. Okay, that was better. We're not flying out of control. Just looking horrible. Where's the other player? Right there. Boom. Okay. I step down here. Yep, we're in the right spot. That worked. But if I spin around, I'm doing a lot of sideways motion. Okay, well, let's actually look at the log this time. So we still have our, we do not. Boop. Go to my documents, my games, core, aimed, logs. One of those, I guess, yeah. Notice one of these is very large. That's because it has all the print statements in it, because they only print when you're not in the ship. Or mostly only print. All right, lots of nonsense down here. Let's try to make sense of this. Ooh, we're going to update every frame. Oh no, we're moving every frame. Okay, that's right. So if we were to fly in a straight line, 10, 10, 10, 20, 20 goes backwards. Backwards a little bit, then forwards. Why did it go backwards? Those are the frames where we reset interpolation offset. See, this interpolation starts at 0, goes up for 4 or 5 frames, goes to 0, up 4 or 5 frames, 0, up 4 or 5 frames. Lerping jumps up a lot when we do that, and then gets smaller, 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 bam, jumps up again. Perfect. Position also is going the wrong way. So the question then is, did I do some math wrong on the client, or did I do some math wrong on the server? Is the speed actually moving correctly? We could put a similar print on the server to have it print out the position that it's setting every frame when it does. What is offset lerp time? Update period times 3. So our frequency right now is 9. So 3/9. Yeah, that's still way more than the tick time for the... Something here might not be right. This is the total position of the ship. Then we're setting this to 0. Our new position is here. Okay, new position plus 0 plus lerp offset. Oh, old position doesn't even go, that's not even used. Okay, so this didn't actually do anything. I don't know how that ended up here. This needs to go in here. That didn't actually fix the bug we had. In fact, I'm kind of amazed it did anything. Oh, I guess we set the extrapolation back, we didn't do anything else, so it's snapping all over the place. Alright, so we have to close this because otherwise it's going to tell me it's updating constantly. Single player again. Alright, multiplayer. Early on, when you played multiplayer, you got Zuri bots and Curdle bots, and I am disappointed that we removed that. Really just the Zuri bots. Okay, so this guy's going to be watching. It's going to be flying. That's not it. Alright, if we fly in a perfectly straight line. Yeah, it's getting these offsets. Debugging. This is even worse now. It goes back past the position it was the previous frame when we reset the extrapolation offset. That implies I did that math backwards or something. I said I did a bunch of time thinking about this every time I did it, and took a lot of tries. So we got a new update. Oh, exact same problem. If you set it to 0 before you use it, it doesn't help you. Yeah. Well, I keep finding promising things wrong with it, so I'm like, this time it'll be it. Hope so. Let's make the pilot over here. Oops. I'm having trouble resizing. Nope, still not better. I'm actually kind of amazed this isn't changing the behavior more. Keep changing the script fundamentally. It might imply that this is not the problem that we're having. So the current position where does current position get set? Only in here. Plus lerp offset plus extrapolation offset. Oh, we've got an interesting bug here. This is actually very interesting. Alright, so here's the problem. That may be our downfall here. I think this math's in a good spot now, right? So this should be where the ship is. You subtract the old position, that's how far, or the new position, that's where our new lerp offset should be. We set it 0, set it. Okay. The position of a child is not actually just the sum of the parent's position and the child's position. It's the child's position times the parent's transform plus the parent's offset. So we're getting rotation problems. This position of the child should be transformed and rotated. We're not scaling in this case, and I don't want to even bother trying to support that maybe. There's a way to solve this problem. There are a couple ways to solve this problem. All right, so current position and new position. We were just summing all positions. This was supposed to work, but then we ignored the current position when we actually set this. What we can do, this is going to be the easiest, is just add the position back in and set world position. I think that should work. We're saying, hey, we actually want it here, and then it will figure it out for us. We could do some inverse transforms. We could try to figure that out. I suspect it'll end up doing the same thing. All right. My mouse cursor, where are you? Look at that. Ah, it's so smooth-ish. All right. Got a smooth looking spaceship. And I bet if I fly in a straight line, the effects could use a little work. I think that it's being like kind of discretized. Okay. We finally made this thing work. Now the question is, how far off is the visual from where the ship actually is? We'll find out at a later date. All right, so we brought our smooths back in a second in a different way. Now we're going to get the lasers back in and see how that works. Fix client side movement. Just did that. Implement custom lasers. This might be a two-part stream. I'm almost out of time. But I will definitely continue this tomorrow, unless something important comes up. I should just start putting schedules and stuff on my Switch. I'm going to totally do that. Get a real schedule going. All right. So our lasers. We've got this ability we want to fire, the laser ability. And did I make a reference to it? Laser ability, did I even connect that? Did not. Laser ability, that tells me that we're not using it. So presumably we want to unexecute this guy right here. Probably does something different. All right, so we're basically trying to reproduce the logic here. We're not, the ability will tell the server automatically where our view is and where we're looking, a forward vector, but it won't tell us our role. So we're going to have to take the server's last update and hope that's close enough. And then it won't tell which offset if we're doing alternating sides. They'll have to keep track of that independently and trust it. So basically we're just doing the exact same logic client and server and no communication, just trust that they line up. So for the client, we're going to spawn a client projectile and send it on its way. It's pretty easy. We need, where's our laser projectile? Let's do that here. Are we going to use the same projectile for both? I think we can do that because it'll be in server context and client context. So, how many of these properties do we have? Okay. Laser projectile. It's not actually projectile because that wouldn't work for us. World.spawn asset. position equals current local player get world view position. That is one way we can do this. I guess let's figure out the pieces first before we do this. We want it to be based on your exact view right now, which we do actually have variables in here that tend to set those things per frame, but it might sometimes be a frame behind if we do it that way, depending on how the frame timing, which part of the frame we're in. So if we go back to API overview, player get view world position. Okay, that tells you exactly what we're looking at, and we're just gonna, if you want to have a, so if you want to have an offset camera, maybe we don't want to do this because we want to support having a third-person camera. I know that at least one person was interested in that. Thanks, Russ. But if you wanted to because the camera went to offset, we don't want the lasers to shoot from your camera. We want to shoot from the ship. So the ship is, where did we last set it? You are in the ship. I guess we should, I guess as I was gonna say, the ability, we're gonna set the owner when you get in it, right? We should worry about that. Interacted. Laser ability owner equals player. Okay. So now you can shoot it. So that means the person shooting it necessarily has to be in the ship. And then we current position. When you're in the ship, that is the last position you had. So that is, we're just gonna trust that. In fact, we're not even gonna bother making another variable out of this. Just bam, it's at the ship. We're gonna make another variable. I lied. Gun position because we gotta do the offset thing. Current position. Let's make some tables. Local gun offsets. Dot right times 200. Vector 3 dot right times 200. Put a negative on there. All right. So we're just gonna go through this table. Say this is the first one, this is the second one, go back to the first one. Just alternating sides. You could do a 4 guns or 3 on the left side or whatever nonsense you want to do. Local gun offset index. Which one are we using now? So we get the offset we want. This is going to be in local space, which is why I'm not just adding it. I need to actually rotate it. Gun offset index. Mod gun offsets +1. Lua, and it's 1 indexing actually makes this a little bit easier to do. So this is the size of the table. This is 2. This is which index we have currently. It's 1. 1 mod 2 returns 1 if you're familiar with the mathematical mod operator. Howdy. And then add 1, you get back to 2. That's second index. Next time you're going to come through 2 mod 2 gives you 0. Add 1, back to 1. If the table is bigger, it just increments 1 each time and round robin. So gun position equals current position plus offset, but we actually need the ship's rotation, which I believe is just current rotation, right? Where do we, somewhere in here, we set the rotation. Set look rotation, not that one. Camera set rotation, new rotation. That's not a sword variable. All right, current view quaternion is what we have. Okay, and apparently we can multiply that by a vector and get the vector out. Okay. And gun forward is just where we're looking. Perfect. So position, gun position for our lead projectile. Local projectile equals, and then we're just gonna give it a good old move continuous. Gun forward times projectile velocity for now, I don't know, 1,000. Let's see if this even works. All right. So this should just be client only. You shoot a thing, it looks cool, and no one else can see it or hear it. Ooh. I didn't rotate it. And they're very slow. Oh, we didn't play the sound. Pew. All right, we're shooting projectiles. Cool. Let's see what we should do. We should give this thing a lifespan since it's not using the projectile system anymore. We should care about the sound. Get that template in here. Laser cannon SFX, and we're gonna localize or spatialize this. We're gonna play it like left side, right side, left side, right side. I think that'll sound cool. Roll that spawn asset position equals got position. Okay, so this one doesn't move to at all. It's just spawn up there. And this needs a rotation. Can I give it a quaternion? I bet I cannot. World spawn asset. Rotation or quaternion. Oh, yeah. Sweet. Look at that. These things are aligned. We got lasers with upsides and downsides. I got script error. 103. Laser can SFX. Yep. Okay. I forgot to get the property off the right thing. Super slow lasers. How cool. So if lasers are slow enough, you could just put triggers on them or triggers on the ship and be like, hey, are you colliding with the thing? Is it a laser? Does it have a damage property on it? That kind of thing. If the lasers were faster, you would have to do some traces, depending on how fast you want to make them. Basically, do they move more than their length in one server tick is the question. Let's change that speed to, I don't know, 10 times as much. All right, this needs to go like way faster. Also, I kind of want to fire this ability manually from script so I can just hold down and go pow, 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 pow instead of having to click each time I want to fire. So let's see, if I set this to 0, that's 4 shots a second. Kinda. 4 shots a second is still not great. Since there's no animation at all, I can probably just drag this down super low. Let's say like 6 shots a second. That sounds about right. And now let's see if I can make this. So there's a none, I believe, for no binding. Yeah, all right. So we're going to drive that from the script instead. On binding pressed, full toggle. Toggle is firing. That's primary. You can't change that binding. Who would want to change that binding anyway? Same logic here. We've talked about making a mechanism to do the same sort of thing. Basically, not have to be like is binding pressed as a function you can call. Turns out it's harder than it should be, but we will hope to do it anyway. So then in tick, we're just going to use the abilities cooldown. That seems safe. After all this, if and laser ability dot, how do I find out if it's available? get current phase. That's what I want. Over here. Equals ready. Then laser ability activate. Fires for you. Great. Got a new script. Well, that's sweet. Alright, I'm having fun. So the catch is to make these actually hit other ships. That is the whole point of the thing we're trying to do. And we'll probably have to wait to another day. We basically have to do the same thing we just did on the server. When the abilities, check is the like we don't need to do the binding stuff. We just need to do on execute. Well, actually, this might just be copy paste, right? Like basically just grab this guy, throw it in here. There's always one more thing you can do, right? That guy. I don't like putting the custom events last, I think, before tick. So does this even have does the server have reference to the ability? It does. Look at that. I already thought of this. Brilliant. Go past me. Alright. So the gun offsets, we hard coded a few things here that I'd like to not hard code, but for now we're going to leave this and clean it up tomorrow a little bit. We need the gun offset index. That one just has to be on both. Gun offsets we could put in a shared place. We could put it at like ideally what I'll do, and I'll probably do this tomorrow. Let me add this to the list. Custom positions. Yeah, let's do that. Make them do damage. All right. So what I do is I put a group in here under the server context, or like, I guess not in the server context. It's just like where are the guns, and you just put like folders or invisible cubes or something. I am probably missing some tables. All right, so I've got that. I've got the index, gun position. Current position is not what we want. We want current position plus current offset. That's what the server thinks is where the ship is. And current view turning we definitely don't have. We have a... we didn't actually save this. We need to save that off. Local last rotation. Alright, so the reason we're saving this off and not using the value that's actually the spaceship's rotation is we'd rather it be even more up to date and not look like it's coming out the correct... Like we don't care as much as it's coming out the correct angle. We want it to be as up to date as possible. So we take the last rotation and multiply by the offset. Gun forward, same deal. Now this is interesting. All right, so I forgot to actually use the abilities information on the client. Maybe it shouldn't matter, but I should probably have this be the same either way. So we're going to go look at that. In fact, I did it entirely in both cases. I should be using the abilities position and rotation, not the... Yeah, that's right. And then I'll do that second. I don't need the SFX, of course. I do need the laser projectile. Server script needs reference to that. It's here, right? It's on the root, which I have. I just need to add it to the script. There. Something like that. I usually put template in the name of things that are things you're spawning, but I think that's all right. Okay, so this is almost correct. We're going to fix both of these. This is the last thing I'm going to do tonight. We're going to fix both these to use the abilities stuff so it lines up better. So the ability has get target data, and target data as get aim position, get aim direction. Okay, perfect. Execute. Local target data equals. It's weird how many events we have that pass in arguments that you could just, you almost always have to have as a thing anyway. In that I stare at it, I'm like, which one do I use? I've decided to just use the constants I have anyway, but it doesn't matter. I guess it makes it more clear. And it's like, it enables, like, a lot of our API is enabling patterns that different people would use, right? Different people like different patterns, don't understand different patterns, whatever. So the ones that like don't use certain parts, that makes sense. All right, so this target data has an aim position, which is going to replace this entirely. Get aim position. And an aim direction, which is going to be the gun forward. I hope that this is normalized. It doesn't say it is. We're going to find out. So we use the view quaternion here. I'm going to... You never want the laser to come out at a funny angle. You always want it to be going exactly along the axis. On the client, this wouldn't matter either way. On the server, it'd be slightly off if I use the last rotation, and you'd have a projectile that's much easier to hit things with because it'd be wider or taller. So instead, I'm going to make a rotation that takes two vectors. There's a rotation constructor that takes a forward vector and an up vector. And actually, you don't even need the second one, I think. I'm going to check that. You do the second one, okay. The second one doesn't matter. It's only used for roll, and since this is a laser, roll doesn't matter at all. The catch here is that if you're trying to fire exactly straight up, this won't work. I might have to actually, it's kind of annoying, but I'll do it. Local projectile rotation equal if how do I want to elegantly write this? Basically, in the case that you're going, maybe I could use with a quaternion actually. It's slightly more elegant. I don't have to do an if statement and check the one gimbal lock case. So quaternion can be structured from to, and that will handle what we want. So instead of doing this, we're going to do quaternion.new. Despite taking two vectors, is a very different constructor than the rotation constructor. So we're going from the forward vector, which is the default rotation of a thing like projectile, to gun forward. Great. And then we're gonna, in fact, we're just gonna leave that because rotation can be a quaternion in here. Rotation quaternion. All right. So that should do what we want. We're gonna copy this guy off to the server and compare. All right, got the gun offsets, that's fine. Gun position, we missed the target data. What else do we change? Let's just actually just do this over again. Got target data, gun position. Okay, so that's the last rotation right here. Everything else we're keeping the same. So we're only using it to transform the offset from the gun offsets, because that's the one piece the aim forward, aim direction doesn't give us a roll. So we need a roll, it's there. We could think about this a little bit. We could construct a rotation that actually uses the roll from this and the rest of the data from here, but I don't think it matters. All it's going to affect is that the laser is going to be slightly ahead or behind, not anywhere else. So it's just a very slight forward and back adjustment. I think that's fine. We don't need that. And okay, let us see what this does. All right, no script errors. That's something. Pause. Can we find the server projectiles? That was oh, we're actually seeing them. That's cool. Let's scroll all the way down to the bottom. Server, client. Where's the client? Oh, that's the sound. Server, client. They are right on top of each other. You see this? See that widget moved slightly? Client, server. Let's next one up. Client, server, client, server, client, server, client, server. Perfect. All right. Them being on top of each other in single player preview makes sense. The real test is how bad do they look in multiplayer preview. This guy is going to get a good view. I should let that a little bigger. So he's going to fly the ship. I can't look around at all. I broke it. That's a client script error. All right, debugging time. Get you out again. 2 and 3. Lua. Spaceship client 47. Attempted to access restricted field. What did I do again? 47. I can't set the owner on the client. That makes sense. Luckily, I have this fancy server script to do the same thing. Perfect. Okay. I should kill these before. Oh god, I regret everything. I go to Sublime, it's going to tell me I've got 30 updates to these files. Still can't move. Okay, more script errors. Well, I guess it's a good thing I left these open. Lua. 47 again. Did I not remove it from the other script? Did not save. I did not save. Alright, we can move the ship around. Alright, so lasers are appearing behind me. That might just be where I spawned them. You can't tell in first person. The real test, I'm going to fly off here. I'm going to do like a drive-by, right? And I'm going to, while I'm in view, I'm going to fire and see if this, oops, I'm not in view. Hey, look, looks like they're coming from the ship. If I move them forward a little bit, it's hard to tell if they're really off. Actually, we're not even testing the same thing here. This is an accidental success. These are the client projectiles from the other clients. Because I used all the ability data, it worked. Alright, I didn't even think about that line. Testing the server projectiles is going to require actually setting them up to do damage. We'll do that tomorrow. The other thing I was going to check is just think about how this works. So on execute when it's someone else's ability, offset still work. That's fine. We still have the target data that got passed through the network. Great. Position. Current view turning. Okay, they're firing on the other person's view, maybe, or just 0, right? Because this isn't getting updated at all if you're not in the ship. All right, so we need to do something about that. What happens to the rotation? All right, so that's we'll add a note. We'll do this tomorrow. If update rotation used for offset for other clients, similar to server. We're going to change what this says. Make lasers do damage and custom. Should rewrite this. I know what it means at all. Offsets. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for interacting. I know several of you are my coworkers. Claims there's other people here. I don't understand how Twitch works. If I click on the thing that says users in chat, there's 9 people, but yet there's 4. I don't know. I'll figure it out sometime. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. And I totally have this end screen because I totally did a real stream the other day. Check it out.